Alright guys, so one thing that I talk about a lot is the timeline because there's a lot of revelation that I've gotten. You might have heard some of this information, but it's important for me to be redundant because I get new followers and new viewers. And besides, the information is just incredible. It's just worth talking about more and more and more. So, we know that the word wisdom now in Hebrew, right? I'm not going to write it out in Hebrew because you wouldn't understand it anyways, most of you. In Hebrew equals, in standard gematria, 73, and in alphabetical position gematria, 37. So the word wisdom equals 3773. And this is an amazing number. I've talked about it. But one thing we need to remember is that Proverbs 3 verse 19 said that God founded the earth with his wisdom. And when I think of wisdom, I think of numbers as well. So by these numbers, in some way, 3773, God founded the earth. And the amazing thing is that the number 73 is a special number in binary code. The green code you see in the matrix, that always consists of ones and zeros. And 73 in binary code is a repeating code that regardless of which way you go, you get the same thing. 100, 100, 100, and you go backwards, it's the same. That's called a palindrome. And this is as I've talked about, this is the pattern of the stories in the Bible. Is that in the beginning, you start off with God creating the heaven and the earth, and you're in the garden, right? And then at the end, the very same thing happens again. You're back in the garden, and God creates a new heaven and a new earth. So it's amazing to me because according to the binary code, that is what the stories are telling us. That they're telling us the same thing, except one is in numbers and one is in actual events. And the amazing thing about binary code is that all information, for instance, a computer, all information like photos, voicemail, videos, everything that you have, all information on a computer is stored in binary code, in ones and zeros. It's all broken down into this special code and stored, everything. And that's what they show us that we are in the Matrix, is when you see in the Matrix, you see into the other dimension of the binary code that is this place. So these are amazing things. So we know that the word wisdom has everything to do with that. And God founded the earth with his wisdom. Proverbs 3:19. Now, as I've said, when we take that to the beginning, right? When we take God's wisdom and the number that wisdom equals to the beginning, Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, again in Hebrew. This is a key to remember that I didn't know at one time. In Hebrew, Genesis 1:1 equals 2701 in standard gematria. Okay, so in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth equals 2701. The amazing thing about this is if you add it backwards to itself, which is 1072, you get the number 3773, which is God's wisdom, right? That's amazing. Come on, like the Bible it's a code, and it's a riddle, and it is mystical to an extent, right? So you get that number, and if you take 37 times 73, it takes you back to 2701. That's amazing to me. That's amazing. But this number is cryptically in the first verse of the Bible in more than one way. It's 3773, and that's because 3773 is God's wisdom, and that's how he created things. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. That's amazing to me. Now, another amazing thing to me is Genesis 1:1 in the English, okay, in Gematria, equals the number 430. In English, it equals 430. And do you know that the number 430 in the Strong's Concordance, do you know what it means? God. God. That's amazing. Remember, Jesus said, I am the beginning and the end. He is the Word of God that all things consist of. So again, looking at this numerically and by letters, words, they're one. They are one. But it's amazing to see these things in real time. So taking that number 3773 from the very beginning, right? As I've shown you guys before, this is the thing that I really want you to understand, is that if we take the last 3 Shmita years, as I've shown you before, 2015, 2022, and 2029. Now, Shmita year is 7-year cycles that God works off of. That's God's calendar. That's how God works. Every 7 years, it's a year of release. Every 7 years, it's a sabbatical. Just like the 6 days of creation and the 7th day of rest. Just like the 6 days of work and the 7th day of the Sabbath. That's what it is. So the last 3 Shmitas here until the return of Jesus, which is 2029. Not the rapture, but the return. So you take them and the code goes as such. 20 plus 15 is 35. 20 plus 22 is 42. 20 plus 29 is 49. And the formula goes 35 plus 42. This is going to fall times 49. Hold on, it's falling. And so you take the numbers, 35 plus 42 times 49, you get the number 3773. Just like the very beginning, 3773 in Genesis 1:1, well, we have the very end here, 2029, which we get 3773, the same exact code for God's wisdom. And why is that? Because in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth with his wisdom, 3773. And at the end, what does God do? Create a new heaven and a new earth with his wisdom again, 3773. Hello, this is the code to the end. This is the code. It's a code, okay? This is hidden wisdom, okay? 100% hidden wisdom that was revealed to me, and I'm showing it to you guys. And of course, this matches up with the 6,000 year period that we are dealing with. As I've talked about, Genesis chapter 6, verse 3. Notice the 6, because 6 is the number of man, and then 3 times 6, again you get 666, the number of man, okay? And this prophecy is about man and God. And it's about God saying that his spirit will only strive with man for 120 years. But we know that that's Jubilees. Okay? This is going to fall again. And 120 Jubilees, a Jubilee is 50 years, so 120 times 50, you get the number 6,000 years. We're dealing with the 6,000 year period here, okay? Just like the 6 days of creation, a day is as 1,000 years with the Lord. So you have 6,000 years or 6 days, okay? And I've shown you how exact my timeline is with this 6,000 year period, which is God said, let there be light in 4004 BC. Okay? Said, let there be light. It's a palindrome. And the number 4 is a number for door. So there's door in the beginning and door in the end. And then you go 4,000 years. and you come to 4 BC. 4 BC. So you have 4,000 years, 4 BC. And you go another 2,000 years, because we're working with the 6,000 year period, and you come to around 1996. Excuse me. 1996 or 1997, when in the movie Terminator, Skynet was born. Do you see the scenario here that they did? 4 BC, the true light comes into the world, Jesus. You go exactly 2,000 years, and the counterfeit light is born in the movie Terminator, Skynet. So this is the 6,000 year period. Why isn't it over then? Well, it's because we start the 6,000 years from when Adam fell. Adam fell at 30 years old, which is the year 3974. 3974 BCE, which means before Common Era, not before Christ, before Common Era. And you go 6,000 years from this date, when Adam fell and received the false light, and you come to the year 2026. That is when the 120 Jubilees are up, that God's Spirit will not contend with man anymore, and the wrath of God begins. Now, could the rapture happen before 2026? Yes, it could. It could happen this year. But officially, that is the timeline. Now, the number 3974 BCE, where I say Adam fell, the amazing thing is that number in the Strong's Concordance is light. And when you look at it, the definition of it, it says natural or artificial. That's where Adam received Lucifer's artificial light. He ate the fruit. There was probably nanotechnology in it. So that is Lucifer's doorway into going into Adam and Eve with this fruit that was probably the first GMO that man ever ate. Okay? And so that's amazing. That's an amazing connection. That's a confirmer that 3974 is light, and it's either natural or artificial, which it was artificial. And you go 6,000 years from that date, the fall of Adam and Eve, come to 2026. This is a very important timeline, and then you have 3.5 years to 2029, so that you know what time it is. Time is very important. So 2029 is the very end. And time is very, very important, because imagine if you don't know what time it is. You don't know what time you got to go to work. You don't know what time you got to pick up your kids. You don't know what time you have to go to sleep. You don't know what time, anything. So you have Adam falling at the year 3974 at 30 years old, right? And then you have him going for, he was 30 when he fell, and then you have him going for 3 to 3.5 years. And that's where you get that time period, and that's when God came down and kicked him out of the garden for 3 days. And then he clothed him with skins, symbolic of light, Jesus, the Lamb, right? And so Adam was on earth with this artificial light for 3 to 3.5 years. And this is the pattern for Jesus. You know, when he started his ministry at 30, this is because it's a repetitive pattern. He's reversing the curse. So he went for 3.5 years with his ministry, and at 33, he was crucified and rose from the grave. 3 days in the grave, just like Adam was kicked out at 33 for 3 days of the garden. And then he was clothed with skins, just like Jesus was clothed with light. He is the light, but it's symbolic. So it's a repetitive pattern. That's why everything matters. These numbers and the times that they happen and all these things. That's what's going on. And that's why the third 3.5 year period is from 2026 to 2029. And again, what it's going to be when we're changed is the light of Lucifer again for 3.5 years, just like Adam. For three and a half years, and then at the end in 29, you read in the book of Revelations that they kill the 2 witnesses in the streets, and how long do they lay in the streets for? 3 days. It's all a repeating pattern. So you had 3.5 years and then 3 days. With Adam, you had 3.5 years and then 3 days. With Jesus, you had 3.5 years and then 3 days. See that? It's all connected, and it's all the same pattern to teach us what's going on. And remember, when they lie dead in the street for 3 days, then they resurrect, just like Jesus. And that was symbolic of Adam being covered with the skins, the lamb. It's all one. It's all connected. It's all teaching us something. That's why dispensationalism, it's almost like a virus that stunts your growth, almost. And another important word to know that equals 37 in Hebrew, again, in Hebrew, is the word breath. In Hebrew, breath equals 37. Okay? And that's important because that's how God creates things also. Through his wisdom and through his breath, right? He said, let there be light. And it was. So we have this infamous number 37 that is also his wisdom, which he creates with. This number is amazing. Amos, what is Amos 3:7? Interesting connection. Amos 3:7, 37 says that he will do nothing without revealing his secrets to his servants, the prophets. So I find it very interesting that this verse is about revealing secrets. Right? And it sure is. And another amazing thing about this number is if you go to Genesis, remember Lucifer is the counterfeit. Genesis chapter 3, verse 7, that's when it says that their eyes were open, and that you remember what Lucifer promised? Their eyes will be open. What happened? The artificial light that they received opened their eyes in another way, with the artificial light. And it's in chapter 3, verse 7 of Genesis. Just like God gives us his light, natural light, will artificial light open their eyes. Genesis 3, verse 7, 37. Lucifer is the ultimate counterfeit. That's why it's artificial light. And now I want to share with you guys a story that happened to me. I'm not too big into, I'm not too big into things that I can't prove to you, making videos of. However, I just figure I'd share this. Take it for what it's worth. You don't have to believe me. But I am telling you the truth. And what do I have to lie to you about? So, anyways, one day, a few months ago, I was in my house and I was going to get picked up to go to the store. And I kept getting the numbers 2017, the year 2017. And then it was showing me 20 plus 17, 20 plus 17 in my mind. Over and over and over. 37, 20 plus 17, 37, 20 plus 17, 37. And in 2017, that was when the Revelation 12 sign happened. The woman in the heavens clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and crowned with 12 stars. And so I didn't know why this was happening. It just kept going over and over and over in my mind 5 minutes before I left. So as soon as I walked out the door, it went away. I said, man, I don't know what the heck to make of that. So it was the number 37, 20 plus 17. So we go to the grocery market. I had to pick up a few things. And I said, I'm going to buy a couple scratchers. Every now and then I buy a couple scratchers. So sue me, right? So crucify me. So I bought two $20 scratchers. And if I buy, I'm going to buy a nice scratcher. So I got two $20 scratchers. And the person with me was going to scratch the first one. And she was scratching the top, because you have to match your numbers and you get your numbers. And she was naming the numbers and she said 37. So I told her right there, I said 37 is going to win. And she said, okay, so she kept scratching. Sure enough, the number 37, winner, $20 scratcher. And I'm sitting there like, man, I wish I would have said something before that happened, so that the person with me would have known that what just happened is supernatural. Okay, there was, what do I say, God? Okay, so it's supernatural, throwing this number in my head. And again, the amazing thing about this is that the number 37 is God's wisdom. And this is what he creates with. His wisdom, his breath. Number 37, as I just showed you. And this really happened to me a few months ago. And I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. And you know, things that exactly like that have happened, where somebody keeps going into my mind, and then I walk to the store and I see that person that I haven't seen in like 2 years. That happened as well in the past couple years, twice. But the 37 thing, man, and the fact that it was the number 37, like, you know, that's connected to Amos 3:7 and all these things. So, you know, I have to be careful. We have to be careful when we have things that are supernatural happen to us, because we know that Lucifer is the ultimate counterfeit. But, you know, what purpose would that, what purpose would Lucifer have in doing that? I don't know, but it was really amazing to me. It was amazing to me because of the significance of the number 37, as I just showed you in this whole video. So I just thought I'd share that with you guys. These things really do happen to me more than often, you know, as we get closer to the end, they happen more and more, you know. And if we go according to the Bible, then we know that the end is already finished. So somehow, are we in the past? And then, you know, because that's how God looks at things. We look at things from here forward. God looks from the end back sometimes. So is that what happened? I don't know exactly how to explain it, but I know that the significance of the number is very great in the Bible, and it's very great to me. And I know what happened really happened to me. And yeah, I know you hearing this on the other end, just take it with a grain of salt, probably. But, you know, when things like that happen, you never forget it. So anyways, thanks you guys.